The champagne glass quivered between my fingers, golden bubbles rising and catching the chandelier's light like glittering lies floating toward the surface. I stood on the fringe of our anniversary celebration, the air alive with chatter, laughter, and the melodic clink of glass against glass. Yet inside my chest, there was only a hollow ache, as though someone had carved out my heart and left it bleeding quietly on the polished floor. 18 years with Laura, and tonight her smile, aimed not at me but at him across the room, cut deeper than any blade ever could. I watched as she tilted her head, auburn curls brushing her bare shoulder, laughing at something Mark had said. His hand lingered on her arm just a moment too long, and my stomach twisted, not from jealousy, but from the sick heaviness of suspicion that had been festering for months. I forced a smile, lifted my glass toward a passing guest, and pretended to join in the celebration, but my gaze stayed fixed on them. The warning signs had been there, hadn't they? The late nights at work. The way her phone was always angled away. The new perfume, sharp, unfamiliar, and foreign, like deceit bottled into scent. I'd brushed it all aside, convincing myself I was overthinking, that love makes fools of even the most rational. But now, watching Mark's fingers graze her wrist again, I couldn't unsee it. My throat tightened. I took a sip of champagne, hoping to calm the storm inside. It tasted bitter. Or maybe that was just a taste of realization. "James, are you okay?" Her voice snapped me out of my trance. Laura was suddenly beside me, her green eyes searching mine, her smile poised and perfect, but I no longer believed it. Her hand rested on my arm, warm but unfamiliar, like it belonged to a stranger. "I'm fine," I replied, keeping my tone steady despite the tremor beneath it, just taking it all in. 18 years, huh? She laughed softly, but it didn't touch her eyes. "Feels like forever, doesn't it?" She lifted her glass, the one she'd poured for me earlier, insisting I try her special mix. The liquid shimmered faintly under the lights, and a ripple of unease crawled up my spine. Something was off. Her insistence, the way she was watching me now. "To us," she said, clinking her glass against mine. Her gaze locked on me, expectant, almost daring. I hesitated, the air thick between us, her eyes pressing against me like a weight I couldn't shrug off. The room seemed to tilt slightly, the chatter dimming to a dull buzz. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mark leaning against the bar, watching us. My pulse picked up speed. "To us," I echoed, forcing a smile, but I didn't drink. Instead, I set my glass down beside me and reached for hers. My fingers brushed hers as I lifted it. "Let's switch," I said lightly, keeping my tone casual though my heart pounded in my chest. "Yours looks better." For a fraction of a second, her smile faltered, barely noticeable, but enough. A tiny crack in the mask she wore, a flicker of fear. "Oh, no! Mine's nothing special," she said too quickly, reaching for the glass. But I'd already lifted it to my lips. "To us," I said again and drank. Her eyes widened, her breath caught, and in that instant I knew. The champagne burned as it went down, not from alcohol, but from something else. Something wrong. The edges of my vision blurred, and a cold sweat crept down my neck. She'd done it. She'd spiked my drink. "James!" Her voice sharpened, laced with panic. She grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. "Are you okay?" The room tilted, but my thoughts were crystal clear. I hadn't drunk from my glass. I'd swapped them. Whatever she'd meant for me was now coursing through her. The realization hit like a hammer blow. I steadied myself against the table. Not from dizziness, but from the crushing weight of what I'd just done. "Laura," I said, my voice low, trembling with both fury and heartbreak. "What did you do?" Her face drained of color, her lips parted, but no words came. Around us, the party continued, blissfully unaware. The jazz band's melody floated on, mocking the unraveling happening at the center of it all. I leaned in, my voice barely above a whisper. What was in my glass? Tears welled in her eyes. "James, I didn't. Don't lie to me." My voice cracked, louder than I intended. A few heads turned. I lowered it again, stepping closer, my breath hot against her cheek. "You've been lying for months with him." I jerked my head toward Mark, who now stood frozen by the bar, tension in every muscle. Laura's hands flew to her mouth, her gaze darting toward the glass in my hand. "No, James, you don't understand." "Then explain it," I hissed. My pulse thundered in my ears, torn between love and fury, between the woman I'd built a life with and the stranger standing before me. "Explain the sneaking around, the late nights, the way you pull away when I touch you. And tell me," my voice broke, "why you thought you could poison me on our anniversary." Her knees buckled. She sank into a chair, hands trembling. The air thickened with the scent of roses and deceit. I didn't mean." Her words dissolved into a gasp as she clutched her stomach, her face twisting in pain. Whatever she'd mixed into that drink was taking hold fast. I knelt beside her, my anger clashing with panic. "What was it, Laura? Tell me." My voice cracked with desperation. I hated how much I still cared, how much it hurt to see her like this. "It was just a sedative," she gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks. "To make you sleep so I could leave with him." Her eyes flicked toward Mark. The confession hit me like a physical strike. My chest tightened. My breath came shallow. The truth I dreaded had finally surfaced. "Leave," I whisper hoarsely. "After everything, after 18 years? "I'm sorry," she sobbed, shaking uncontrollably. "I didn't want to hurt you. I don't love you anymore." The word shattered something inside me, each syllable a sharp fragment of glass tearing through my chest. I stood unsteadily, staring down at her, the woman I'd built my world around, the one I'd fought for, laughed with, loved with, everything I had. She wasn't that woman anymore. In her place sat a stranger, one who'd planned to drug me and run off with another man. Mark approached cautiously, hands raised. "James, let's talk." "Stay away," I growled, fists clenched. The room spun again, not from drink, but from betrayal. I turned back to Laura, slumped and gasping. The sedative was too strong, stronger than she planned, maybe. A new dread clawed at me. What if she'd misjudged the dose? I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. "My wife," I said numbly. "She's been poisoned." I didn't mention the switch. Not yet. As paramedics burst in, the celebration fell apart. Guests whispering, staring, frozen in shock. Laura was lifted onto a stretcher, her wide, pleading eyes locked on mine. I felt nothing. No, that wasn't true. I felt everything. Rage, grief, guilt, love, and loss, all twisting together like thorns around my throat. Hours later, I sat alone in the sterile hospital waiting room, the sharp scent of antiseptic burning my nostrils. They said she'd survive. The dose wasn't fatal, just enough to knock someone out. I stared down at my hands, the same hands that had switched the glasses, and I wondered who I'd become. I'd wanted her to understand what betrayal felt like, to face the fallout of her lies. But as the adrenaline drained from me, I was left only with the ruins of our marriage and the cold realization that I'd crossed a line I could never return from. A doctor appeared, expression heavy. "She's asking for you," he said quietly. I stood, my heart sinking under the weight of what I'd done. As I walked down that sterile corridor toward her room, one truth echoed in my mind. The real revenge had never been in the switch.